Thanks for true believers. This is Modular Media No Prize Podcast, where we talk Marvel movies, comics, merchandise, and more. I am your host, Chris Boingle Gaston, and with me in this intrepid endeavor is I was about to say tag team partner. That's the wrong podcast.
It's we're recording this on Friday, which is when we would normally, and by normally I mean only for this month, do MMWP because the whole schedule is fucked up because AEW is preempted by hockey. Hi everyone, I'm the Vacuuminator and I represent the distinguished competition.
Oh boy, we're talking about the newest episode of Doctor Who. It was really weird. Tom Hiddleston was in it.
Bro,
and this is blonde woman in it.
We spent the last 2 episodes joking, like, yeah, this kind of feels like Doctor Who. It's kind of weird and quirky like Doctor Who. And this week they just straight up did an episode of Doctor Who.
This is an episode that you would find in Doctor Who.
I think I've seen this episode of Doctor Who, actually.
This is some of the best production values Doctor Who has ever seen.
It has great production values, but then there's also moments that's super like, oh, you're standing on a green screen.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Right after they get thrown out of the train, I noticed on my second watch through. I was like, oh, this whole scene is just them standing on a green screen.
I really hope that just kind of made Disney go like, you know what, we should invest in more volumes.
Yeah.
That'd be really good.
Because a volume in every city.
Sure. But today we're talking about episode 3 of the Loki. Other than the glaringly obvious connections we can make to Doctor Who, also considering that our 2 main leads are both talking in very stuffy British accents, what do you think of this episode?
I really liked it. I thought there was a lot of great character building in this episode. There was some good directing and whatnot. Really good character introduction for the variant, as we've known them up until this episode. And a really great twist ending that I did not see coming, and really, really has me interested to see where things go from here. But obviously, we'll talk about that when we get to it. And I should probably just let the cat out of the bag right away. I was joking about it last episode, but now me becoming a simp for Lady Loki is very dangerously close to becoming a reality. I'm actually a little worried about myself.
Well, we're all worried for you, Vac.
Thank you. I appreciate your sympathy.
Nah, this episode was pretty good. It is very much the middle of the series.
I also read in an article that came out last week, Tom Hiddleston said in an interview, apparently like after this episode, there's supposed to be a major turn in how the story is told. So like this is possibly like leading into some stuff that we just have to guess at right now.
Very much so. This is very much like there's things to talk about, but there's not a lot of things to talk about. You know what I mean?
Like the story of the episode is the variant tries to break in to where the timekeepers are. Loki stops her, air quotes, stops her, dumps them in another apocalypse, and the thing, her time travel device is out of power and then later broken, and the entire episode is about them trying to find an alternate way out of this apocalypse.
Yep, that's pretty much it. But there's a lot of good, like, fun segments. Like the first one, we see the Minuteman that the variant kidnapped, and basically they're on a couple friend dates with cocktails. And like every time she asks, "Oh hey, where are the timekeepers?" The minute person gets confused for a second, and then we change location. It's like, oh, and then we find out this is how she tortured the Minuteman.
Yeah,
it's a really
cool little thing. Also, like I was really trying to on my second watch through, because we find out a thing later about the Minuteman. I was really trying to place the time period that she's from just based on her shirt. I was like, that kind of looks like it's from the 70s, but I don't know if she'd be hanging out in a place like this in the 70s. Maybe it's the 80s. Nah. She her hairstyle doesn't fit the 80s. Maybe it's 90s. I don't know.
Theory. What year does Marvel's first family appear?
It's, I want to say mid 60s.
1962.
Mm.
Okay. And in the span of 2 years, we have the Avengers and Spider-Man and Iron Man and the X-Men and all these different things. What if the MCU was also supposed to be like that? But through a variety of situations within the MCU, say Secret Wars, Infinity Crusades, through all these cosmic machinations, things got broken, and the Timekeepers had to try and put it back together as best they could. And they had all these people from the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s that they had to do something with. So they put them to work.
Yeah, because that is the reveal I was alluding to. By the way, spoilers for the whole episode. If you haven't listened to this podcast before, we spoil the whole fucking show as we go.
I mean, if
Still,
you listen to this podcast on YouTube, you see it right there. Spoilers beware.
yeah, the variant reveals to Loki that all the Minutemen themselves are variants that have been brainwashed to think they were created by the Timekeepers to just be beings that were. Which is
And
really
it's not just the
interesting.
Minutemen; it's the agents, it's the desk clerks, it's every member of the TVA.
Yeah. So I'm half curious. Are we gonna find out that Mobius has like a family or something he has to get back to by the end of the show? Is that gonna be a reveal?
God damn, I hope not, because I don't want to go through that heartbreak.
Yeah. Like honestly, with that thing Tom Hiddleston said about the show's gonna make a major turn and the way this episode ends, I almost hope that Mobius and Rensler just aren't in the rest of the show. I almost hope they're just gone and we're gonna do something completely different going forward. I don't think we will, because that's not the precedent that has been set by the first two Marvel shows, but that would be awesome.
I think it's going to be more of like WandaVision, where it's like the thing you expect, but like, well, you know,
We're taking a
yeah,
weird way to get to it.
yeah, you know. But here's the thing. Also, I don't know what to expect for Loki. Like at the WandaVision, I was going like, yeah, she'd confront her grief. We had a vague idea of like, yeah, this Vision's gonna go away. This is the final closing for Vision. There may be a second Vision that kind of takes up the mantle.
Yeah,
We
no,
had those kind of
Loki dealt with all his shit in the first episode via montage, and so now he's just trying to survive.
like try and do what he wants, but like who knows? Part of me also thinks like maybe they're gonna tap into some like recent Marvel stuff of like, oh, what about the House of Ideas and Eternity and Then and Now and uh becoming the God of Stories? Could that be a thing they're gonna do? I don't know.
Yeah.
Uh but Loki confronts the variant with his pokey sticks. They get onto the Apocalypse Land, and the Apocalypse Land looks really cool. I dig the aesthetics of the quarry.
It literally does look like a Doctor Who planet, though, of just what if the moon, but purple, and there's some heavy machinery scattered around.
Yeah. It's very Doctor Who. It's very Power Rangers. It's very
Mhm.
Super Sentai and comp. It is very low rent budget sci-fi.
You just made me flashback to you're aware of the once that guy with the glasses member, now just YouTuber Nash, correct? Nash Bozard?
Yes, he used to do There Will Be Dragons.
Yeah. And before that, the way I found him was he was doing reviews of bad episodes of classic Doctor Who. And there's one episode where he did a review, and because there was a thing where like every once in a while you would just see a monster peer over a cliff watching the Doctor, and it didn't show up until like the penultimate part of the story. Um he kept doing a reoccurring gag where he would show the monster peering over the cliff and he would dub himself in, "Would you kids keep it down? We're trying to film an episode of Power Rangers over here." And
I
you comparing this to Power Rangers just made that flashback into my head.
mean, Doctor Who's Tokusatsu.
It is.
Is Loki Tokusatsu?
Maybe it's on the border.
I have a feeling you got to have at least one quarry to be Tokusatsu, and they have a quarry.
Watch you watch like some Ultraman you watch Garo and you're just like, there's no quarries in this. This isn't Tokusatsu. I don't know what you're talking about.
No, there has to be a quarry.
So I think all of the original Garo takes place in that city. I don't think there's any quarry scenes. I might be wrong about that. I haven't watched it in a while.
Yeah, we did watch it once for our old podcast.
Yeah, analytical fanboys. Go dig that episode up and listen to it.
But essentially, they go on a merry adventure across this apocalyptic land, trying to. This is like three buddy. This series is just three buddy cop movies rolled into one. It's Loki and Mobius. It's Loki and the Variant. It's Loki and. I have the last two. We're gonna have a completely different person. I have a
yeah,
feeling.
let's go ahead and just say here, because we learn very quickly. She's renounced the name Loki, and she finds being called a variant disgusting. So she asks our Loki to start referring to her as Sylvie. So
Which I think
we're
is
just
the
gonna
name of
call
the
her Sylvie.
Enchantress.
Yeah, we're just going to call her Sylvie from now on. So people were half right in their predictions. I think she is effectively going to be the MCU version of the Enchantress.
Yeah, and it's fine.
Much like for up until all the bitching started, what's his name from Iron Man 3, Killian? He was going to be the MCU version of the Mandarin.
Mm, 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 mm.
Because he literally says at the end of that movie, right before he gets mooked by Pepper, he's like, "You want the Mandarin? I am the Mandarin, Tony." And then Pepper mooks him. And everybody reacted to that by going, "He's not a fucking Asian dude with powerful range, it's Jack." And now you get Shang-Chi.
Here's the thing. I always took that line as like, I was the person behind it all. I was the one orchestrating all of this.
For all
Not
intents
that-
and purposes, I am the man.
Yeah, it wasn't like I am the dude with the 10 rings controlling this multi-nation terrorist organization.
And not to sidetrack this review for like the 8th time, but in the theater, I was fine with that because that character was in like 2 pages of an Iron Man comic and he fucking killed himself. That was the extent of that character in the 616. So it was perfectly fine for him to be MCU Mandarin, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, but we're getting a true old school Mandarin. The power rings are a little bit different. They're not how they are in the comics, but
we'll talk more about that in a little bit.
We'll talk about it in a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit. But we're going through all the planet. They're just bickering back and forth. Great banter, great dialogue. We get into a little ghost town, and my immediate thought was, "Oh shit, is this the ghost town from Guardians 2?"
Like the town where we first see Sylvester Stallone, where they're getting
Yondu. Yeah. That was my first thought. That it just reminded me of that, you know?
Maybe that's just how... This episode is set in 2077.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Which is also just like, okay, we're just confirming that there are pink... Are these all pink Kree? I think they're just all pink Kree.
That could be. I wouldn't be surprised. They're just... There's no prosthetics on them, so I just kind of went, oh, these are future humans. It's like Doctor Who. Eventually, humans get out into space.
But in 2077, people were still on Earth with rocks on. And their technology didn't look like it was spacefaring yet.
That's true.
So that's what I was going like. Because also, this planet in the in 616 continuity is the part of Kree space. It is from the comics. It is a name from the comics, at least.
Okay.
It is in Kree space. For people who do not know about the biology of the Kree, there are generally 2 Kree races. There's the blue Kree and the pink Kree. Pink Kree basically look like white people.
Right.
Yeah. They're also racist against the pink Kree. They're seen as inferior.
Right.
Yep. And Marvel was a pink one.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's no disguise. He was just a pink Kree. That's why he looked human.
Okay. I don't know why. For some reason... I probably already knew that, honestly, because I have watched reviews of Marvel's origin, but for some reason in my head I was always like, no, Marvel's the same as Carol. He's a fucking human who got hit with Kree shit, and now he has powers.
Nope, Marvel is Kree, 100%.
Cool.
That's why...
Was he in the Captain Marvel movie? I barely remember that movie at this point, except for the parts that annoyed me.
Yes, they gender swapped him.
Oh, yes, that's correct.
He wasn't Marvel as we see him in the comics. They just took the name as like an inspiration for Carol. You know?
Yes, that's correct.
Though I do think if they ever reboot the MCU, you should totally do Captain Marvel, like Marvel, so you can get the death of Captain Marvel and you just adapt the graphic novel because it's a goddamn gorgeous graphic novel.
Mm-hmm. But anyways, this episode.
Yep. Yeah, this episode. So they run across an old lady with a shotgun. It's not a shotgun, it's a space shotgun, but it's a shotgun.
It's like a big rail gun hooked up to a generator.
Yeah. And she guys goes like, they're all going to the Ark. You got to get on the train to get on the Ark. And they go to the train and they go like, oh, let's do a Loki thing.
They're
And
talking about this while walking past the line, like not even like a few feet away, right next to the people waiting in line to get on the train, who are not being let on the train because they don't have tickets. And they're just openly being like, yeah, we should disguise ourselves as guards, sneak on board, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, literally, any of these people could hear you and be like, hey, fuckers, back it along like the rest of us.
yeah, but also like, goddamn, these security uniforms. They're like from Doctor Who. They're just
They are
Doctor Who costumes.
literally classic Doctor Who costumes, and I love it.
It's just a sweater with a bike helmet.
It's wool onesies, is what it looked like to me.
It is just pure. This is pure Marvel UK vibes.
Mm-hmm. Like I could picture freaking Cobra troopers from GI Joe dressed like this as well.
Yep. But they get on
Just
the ship. Through their machinations, they have a little back and forth. They have a plan. They talk about love. They talk about meaning and metaphor.
and
We
Loki is made the first canonically LGBTQ plus character in the MCU.
technically Deadpool is in the MCU now. They just haven't made his MCU movie, and Deadpool is Pan. I am always
That's fair,
upset that he is
but that's
never
what
counted
but
as
that's
part of the
what
LGBT.
Twitter has been saying, so I felt like I had to acknowledge it.
I'm trying to remember if it, no, yeah. I'm trying to think of any of the gay no. I mean, technically, Wiccan and Speed exist in the MCU now, but they haven't grown and matured to the point where they realize their sexuality. So it's like weird to say, like
Yeah. I don't feel
like
like you can say it until the character actively comes out on screen. Is that fair, or is that me being a little
I
controlling?
mean there's an understandable reason for that. It's just like, but that's also very heteronormative to just assume,
That's fair.
you know,
Mhm. And I
like
am the most heteronormative guy on the internet.
that's not a thing you should want to be.
Yeah, don't fucking stick me with that. Don't take that clip and put it out of context on YouTube, God damn it.
And I'm always of the opinion that if you have a shapeshifter character in Marvel Comics, they are both gender fluid and bi.
Mhm.
Mystique, gender fluid and bi. They prefer a
Also,
feminine form, but gender fluid and bi.
I also love the meme that was going around of like Marvel fans. It was like a picture, like one of those picture of somebody doing something crazy and then somebody looking smug, and there's text over them both. And the person going crazy was Marvel fans flipping out over Loki coming out as bi, and then Norse mythology fans and being smug in the knowledge that Loki turns into a woman and has sex with a horse and then gives birth to a horse in Norse mythology.
Well, that meme's also factually incorrect. Loki turns into a mare.
Mm.
He turns into a lady horse. If you're gonna be pedantic, be specific.
Yeah. But keeping on with that scene, I also do love how they like compare backstories. Like Sylvie didn't know her mom very well. I'm assuming they're referring to Frigga the whole time. Because they don't ever say like birth mom, adoptive mom. They just say mom. And the
Right.
only mom our Loki has ever known is Frigga.
Right.
So
I mean,
I'm
Loki's mom is in the comics, but it was like a what if story to the
Mhm.
side. Comic Pop did an episode on it.
Yeah, I listened to that last weekend actually.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Uh
yeah, yeah.
but um Sylvie barely knew Frigga, and she knew she was adopted from a very early age.
Right. Which is weird because she looks more like the Odinson family than our Loki does.
Hmm. Which is another thing I wanted to mention about her. Like we kind of made a big deal last week over the fact that she has short blonde hair. Now that we've gotten more time with her, it's more like a dirty blonde, or like a black with blonde highlights
Eh,
kind of a thing.
but it is definitively not the raven jet black hair that Tom Hiddleston has
And it's also
as
very
Loki.
much up my alley still.
Thank God most of Marvel's fucking redheads, or else I'd have to pull you off every single Marvel character.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's not just short blonde hair. I do go for other types, but it takes a lot of convincing in the personality department. You know what I mean? You know what I mean, Vern?
I was just thinking of Gwen Stacy, and I was trying to figure out how would that work into this whole joke gag we're doing.
Well, see, it really depends. 616 Gwen Stacy, I'm staying the fuck away from her. She's Peter's girl. I'd never fuck with that. Until he accidentally killed her, they were definitely going to get together and live happily ever after. Um, However, Ghost Spider Gwen, you would definitely have to pull me off of her, or she would punch me in the balls and I'd fall off a building. One of those two things would happen.
But Sylvie fucking falls asleep. Loki pulls a Thor.
Yeah, he just starts throwing a big party and singing a fucking Viking song.
Hell yeah. And like here's the thing that people have been pointing out. Loki wouldn't do this. This has to be a plan of his. Like he is orchestrating this whole thing to fuck with her.
That's
Or
possible.
she's orchestrating this whole thing to fuck with him and he thinks it's all his idea.
That's possible, but also they like just had a heart to heart where they talked about like, yeah, we both slept around a bunch and we've never felt like we can be open with anyone. So I almost wonder if this is him being like, I'm around a bunch of strangers who are never going to see me again. And also this person is basically me. So I can be a little more open with them. I can have some fun here.
But they get kicked off the train and they go like, all right, cool. We have
Kicked
one
off.
last.
They get thrown out a window.
Yeah. Loki busts the data pad and they go like, all right, cool. We have one opportunity left. We save the Ark.
Mm-hmm.
So they go to the city and we have a more dialogue. This is very dialogue heavy. And then we have the final scene.
Oh, I love the moment right after they get thrown off the train where Sylvie just screams and lets her powers burst out. Like that's a very human moment you don't often see in the MCU.
Yeah, but I also love the smugness that Loki came in and just went like, "Did that make you feel better?"
No, but like, how many times have you done that with like a friend or a family member on both sides?
Yeah, but then we arrive in the city that holds the Ark as the gates are closing on the citizens, so they can't go in. As Loki and Sylvie are being chased around by guards people as they're trying to get to the Ark, and they're right about getting like close to the Ark.
And it's a big old oneer. Everybody was freaking out that they did a oneer, even though you can spot like a billion places where they clearly edited takes together.
Oh yeah, no. It's a very good edited oneer, but it's edited.
Mm-hmm.
Also it just looked really good. I love the colors. I love the kind of UV highlights, the UV like colored highlights that they had on things.
There's a great color palette in this episode.
Mm-hmm. I also like how it just got like more color palette-ly as the episode went on because it went more from day to night.
Mm-hmm.
But they see the Ark, they're about to go and try and get on it. Then a giant chunk of the moon goes crashing into it, destroying it. As Loki just sits there going like, "Oh," as Sylvie walks away.
And there's a guard in the background. I love this detail. I like my eyes immediately went to him on both watch throughs. There's a guard in the background who was chasing them and just immediately falls to his knees and then goes down on all fours like he's fucking crying. Like it's one of those things where it was probably improvised, but it's such a good improvisation that it made me like start inventing a whole backstory for that character. I was like, he probably had a friend on that fucking thing, and he was going like, you know what, I'm not gonna make it off, but at least my buddy's gonna be safe, and I'm gonna make sure my buddy has a safe. Yeah, this was just one. That was the darkest headcanon ever. I'm sorry.
Because that happens.
That's right.
That has actually happened. Like
I think it happened. I think it definitely.
We gotta wait till next week to see.
I would not be surprised if next week just opens with Mobius walking through a portal and going, "Oh, there you fucking are! Come on!"
I mean, from the trailer for episode 4, it looks like that's what happens. Like Loki gathers up survivors, and that's where he gets to vote Loki costume.
Sick.
That's what it seems like. That's what it.
Because that's the one thing we don't have from the trailers yet is the vote Loki costume.
Yep. Yeah.
What was the other thing I wanted to say? I don't know. I had something and then it just brain farted out of me while we were talking about the vote Loki costume.
It was a good episode, though.
Yeah, it was very solid. A lot shorter than the first two.
Mm-hmm. The rest of them are probably going to be like the same length as the first two.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. If you're watching Loki, you're watching Loki.
Yeah, it's really good. It's really solid. Great character work, and I'm looking forward to see where it goes. I mean, you can't not have watched to this point and saw that cliffhanger and gone, I'm fully satisfied. I'm done. I don't need to watch any more Loki. No, you're
If
watching next week,
I have eaten
motherfucker.
the crust of this sandwich, and you know what? I'm stuffed. No, but yeah, no, it is solid. Is good. Is good for the neighborhood. Speaking of
Yeah.
neighborhood,
Um,
Chinatown, San Francisco.
you know what's not coming to the neighborhood? Physical releases of the Disney Plus shows. You hear about that this week?
Yeah,
I wanted to briefly bring that up because it's insanely ironic that that news came out while they're doing a show that's very much themed after Doctor Who. And like the thing that fucked Doctor Who and why there's a lot of missing episodes of Doctor Who is Doctor Who existed before home releases were even a thing. And then because of that, a lot of the original film strips for old episodes got lost. And like this is even more dangerous than that because this is not physical film strips we're talking about here that aren't going to get a home release. This is ones and zeros on a server somewhere.
yep. Also, it's kind of rude to people all around the world who don't have great internet access who would like to
Yeah,
see the show.
yeah.
What
Like,
what about Joe Fuck from Alaska who wants to watch Loki?
what
He don't have
about
no good internet.
what about oh, I almost said something really inappropriate, but what about random man from Afghanistan who wants to watch Captain America and the Winter Soldier or Falcon and the Winter Soldier or whatever it's called on Disney Plus now? I don't remember if they changed the name or not after the last episode.
No, that is still Falcon.
Okay.
But no, physical media should be like. I understand the logic, but it's unsound logic.
Like Disney, do you want people to pirate? Because this is how you get people to pirate.
Yeah, especially because like for people who don't have good internet, pirating will be the only way. Like a friend of a friend, oh, here's the DVD of all the episodes of Loki. Oh,
Yeah.
cool, sweet, thanks. You just lost $50. You could have made $50 there, Disney.
Mm-hmm. But that's $50 we would have only made once, and you would have shown that to all your friends, and we couldn't have made $50 over and over again every month from you and all your friends. Don't share accounts.
What share counts? No,
That's
never
totally
do that.
yeah. Um, can we be completely transparent? Do you mind if we be completely transparent?
Sure.
Because you're using an account that Snowcone is sharing with you, and I think a couple other people.
Yeah.
I started watching Disney Plus shows. I watched the first season and a half of The Mandalorian via torrents, and I liked it so much that I talked my mom into getting us Disney Plus. And so now my family has a shared Disney Plus account.
Yeah, I think household sharing is like understood. Like, I don't think Disney's butthurt about like household sharing. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But no, yep, Disney Plus. But this isn't going to be on Disney Plus. We got a new trailer for Shang-Chi.
And The Legend of the Ten Rings.
Yes, it is good.
Yeah, it's a trailer. I feel like we learned a lot more about the story than we did with the first one.
Yeah.
Specifically, like how the Ten Rings work in the MCU, what their significance is to Shang-Chi, and his whole backstory, which you could kind of guess from the first trailer, but here it kind of outright lays it out from narration of like he was raised to think he was going to be a big, great leader boy, and then he went, nah, this shit doesn't sound great. I'm gonna change my name and go be a regular boy in San Francisco. And then destiny comes calling.
Yep. Okay, so here's the thing. In the comics, the Ten Rings are function more like Infinity Stones. They all have like individual powers.
Mm-hmm.
And here they're functioning more of like a collective Mjolnir, whereas like collectively they have power and you can sling them about and they have energy imbued in them and you can harness it.
I like part of me is like, okay, if that's what you're doing, I'm okay with that because you've already changed them a lot for the MCU. But another part of me is like, well, they could only be showing us one mode in this trailer, and there may be like multiple modes to the Ten Rings, and we'll see them all used throughout the movie.
Yeah, that's true. But there's also like the other aspects of it. I like how they're bracelets instead of like finger rings, because in the comics they're finger rings.
Yeah, because in the comics they can magically change size, and they're originally meant to be how a race of space dragons controls their spaceships.
Do you want to know what the space dragons are?
The same race that Fing Fang Foom belongs to.
Yeah, Fing Fang Foom, baby.
I've read that story.
Yeah. Gotta love Fing Fang Foom.
Yeah. But if that is the way we're going, like, I don't expect Fang Fang Foom to be in this movie, but if they reveal the backstory of the Ten Rings, of them being remote control devices from space dragons, then I could see that being an explanation for why they're bracelets to us, but they are finger rings to giant space dragons.
Yeah, I can definitely vibe with that. I do like how they showed off some of the more like nice cinematography in this
Yeah.
trailer. So like the purposeful cinematography, not just like the shot reverse shot like we had in the first one. Here's the thing, okay, hold on.
Holding on.
You say we may not see Fing Fang Foom, but I'm saying, bro, there's a dragon.
That's true. I hmm, I hadn't noticed that. That is a big Drago man. Look at that.
There's a dragon in the trailer.
But I also like how we're seeing some very intimate hand-to-hand combat, but then it looks like there's also some massive battles in the movie. Like there might
Yeah.
be some variety to the action in this movie.
We're also getting some like Doctor Strange style like magic fights.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about Doctor Strange, the last little stinger of the trailer, we see a fight between a mage who's Asian and bald and a little heavy set versus a giant green dude with fins on the side of his head.
Yeah, so like back up for a second. I was watching this trailer, and for the most part, I was like, yeah, this is a good trailer. This is a solid trailer. I'll probably just turn this off when I finish it and go back to what I was doing. And then we got to the last couple shots, and I was like, well, I know who needs to see this. Because
Yep.
I immediately threw it in your server and then was like, yo, Snowcone, is that what I think it fucking is? And he's like, it fucking is. Because for those of you who don't know, Snowcone, fellow member of Modular Media, who loves the Hulk. The Hulk is like one of his favorite things. He saw Abomination and he flipped about as much shit as was appropriate.
Yeah, because it's not just like OG Abomination from the MCU. It's like he has the fins now. He looks like Abomination.
It's
Whole nine
almost
yards.
like time has passed and he's had time to grow and change. And they're possibly giving him a bit of a brand refresh because his actor is coming back, probably not only for this. He's slated to be in the She-Hulk show.
Yeah,
So
but
that's something I theorized with Snowcone is that scene might be like some setup for the She-Hulk show.
it might be. But also like Abomination is fighting a mage, a wizard boy, and there's been some speculation that might be Wong.
Mm-hmm. Which is good. I like MCU Wong. It'd be good to see more of him.
But yeah, the trailer looks good. I'm excited for the movie. Can't wait to see it.
Excellent.
Yeah. I'm looking at a comment on the trailer on YouTube. One day, Simu Liu will play a character with a healthy relationship with his father.
Oh, that's some stuff. So do you want to hear about toys?
Yeah, tell me about some of them plastic boys.
Well, first off, I just threw this in here because I thought it was hilarious. Do you remember The Dark Knight Rises? Was that a movie you saw?
Yes.
Do you remember what happens at the end of that movie?
Bruce Wayne is in a French Riviera and Alfred's also there. But Bruce Wayne's going like, hey man, I'm also might be a metaphor for the fact that I might not actually be here and you're projecting an idea of a happy life for me.
What's happening back in Gotham?
Nothing at that point in time. That was the end of the movie.
What did the people of Gotham do? Because remember what they thought happened to Batman? Or
oh yeah, they put up a statue of Batman.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever watch that scene and go, "Hey, I'd like to own that statue"?
Not really.
Did you think that 8 years later? Because a fucking company solicited a 17-inch tall version of that statue.
Why?
Because Batman fans are insane, and so are Nolan fans. And I say that as somebody who loves most of the Nolan Batman movies.
I mean, all right.
For
I don't think it's
$230 in December of this year, you can own a 17-inch tall replica of the marble Batman statue.
Marble. I thought you said Marvel for a second. I was like, what?
And it is apparently it's it's polystyrene, I believe is the building material, which isn't as heavy or as dense as marble, but it has a good weight to it, and they're gonna, of course, paint it to look like it does in the movie. So it'll be a satisfactory replica, I think, if you're somebody who wants to shill out that kind of cash for a replica of this Batman statue. I personally am still holding out for somebody to please, for the love of God, make a replica of the statue from the end credits to Avengers Age of Ultron.
Oh
I have
yeah, very
wanted
much
that
so.
thing literally since that movie came out, and no company has ever made it. Anyway, moving on. Remember, did we talk about sometime in the last couple weeks? McFarlane is doing a Batman 66 toy line.
Yes.
They have done the official reveal for those. The McFarlane DC Retro Batman 66 5-inch action figure line, which is going to be, for those of you who aren't action figure savvy, in a smaller scale than the DC Multiverse line. This is not meant to go with those. This is meant to be its own thing that's primarily meant to evoke a retro feel. Although it does have slightly more modern articulation, which appears to be ball joint at the head, ball joint at the shoulder, hinge and swivel at the elbow. I forgot that word for a second there. Swivel at the wrist, potentially a waist swivel, but there's no kind of ab crunch or anything. And then just straight forward and back at the hips and the legs. I was actually watching a stream talking about these the other day, and it hit me. These have the same articulation as Mattel WWE basic figures.
Yeah.
And that's not entirely a bad thing. It's just weird to see on a brand new toy line because these look fairly accurate, but they also look like they're from 10 years ago. And the capes are a little because they're not the plastic capes like they've been doing for Multiverse. They're soft goods, air quotes. And
Lego capes. They're Lego capes. We can be honest here.
yeah. And then the only accessories these come with is the fucking massive onomatopoeias, and you can clip them onto their arms. So you can pose Batman like he's punching the Joker and have there be a literal POW there.
I mean, that's a cute idea. That's cute. Come on.
That is cute. And the figures we have solicited for this line so far are Batman, Robin, the Joker, and then an unmasked Robin, and then a Joker with a domino mask that I believe is from one episode, and those are going to be exclusives. And then they're doing the Batmobile, but the Batmobile looks like it's a little too small for these figures. There's a picture with them in it in this article that I've linked to you, and they look like they're for a different Batmobile, basically. And then there's also a Batcave playset, which is the one whole thing of this where it's like, oh, it's supposed to be kind of like a retro line that I actually dig because it's a modern playset that actually folds up. No
Nice.
playsets do that anymore, but it folds up and can be properly carried, and I think that's really cute.
This definitely feels like it's for 50-year-old men who want to relive part of their childhood.
It's for boomer nerds who are about to retire and are gonna buy these, enjoy them for a weekend, and then dump them on their grandkids.
Or put them on a shelf.
Mm-hmm. Like, this is very much not for me. I've already been on the fence about the McFarlane DC stuff, but this is super me go. Like, I've seen a good bit of Batman 66, and I actually do like that show quite a bit, but I look at these figures and I go, yeah, that's a hard pass, buddy. Sorry, Todd.
These are for the boomers that really love Batman, but could give less of two shits about any character other than Batman.
Yeah. Speaking of characters other than Batman, we have a new DC Mayfix.
Wait, DC has those characters other than Batman?
Yeah, there's Batman's Rogues Gallery. Haven't you heard of that?
Oh yeah, you're right. Shit, how could I forget?
DC has been doing import figures with the Mafex line by Medicom for a little while now. They've had two main lines. They've had Dark Knight Returns and Batman Hush. Although they're starting to do a return of Superman line because there's a mullet Superman in black costume that's scheduled to come out next year. But they just solicited a new figure for their Hush line,
This isn't the
which
same company that makes those really very, very, very detailed Batman Ninja figures, right?
no,
Okay.
this is a different company. Those are 1/6 scale or 12-inch. This is 1/12 scale or 6-inch.
Okay.
Um, and they have solicited a Harley Quinn
Oh, it's not a bad
based
Harley Quinn.
based off of the Jim Lee depiction of her from Batman Hush. And um much like the Joker they did for this line that I believe is like either just came out or is about to come out. Um I don't care for this figure in the face, but other than that, it looks like it might be the best figure of this character to date. Like it's going to be highly articulated. It's a really simple sculpt that hits all the key details of the character, and it comes with the only accessories you really need, which is some alternate hands and the mallet. And then because she had them in this story, alternate feet to represent her spring shoes. And she has three different faces. She has a calm smiling. She has kind of like an anger gritted teeth, and then she has a smiling with teeth.
And I'd be completely honest, real quick.
Yeah.
She feels a little too shiny,
Mm-hmm.
almost in a fetishistic way.
That's Jim Lee for you.
No, it's not Jim Lee. It's the figure.
Motherfucker, have you not seen the art this is based off of?
You know what I'm saying. It looks like she's just a latex person.
Yeah, because that's how she was drawn when she was first introduced in DC Comics. Because that's what everyone thought it was. Nobody, for some reason, a lot of the people who drew Harley in her early days in comics did not realize that her costume was supposed to be cloth.
She just looks like she's coming straight off like a German porn site.
Yeah, I definitely get that. But like for reference, this is the DC Direct version of her that came out, I believe, the year after Hush was originally published.
Oof.
Yeah. My how far we've come.
Uh, what other toy news do we got?
Well, getting back to McFarlane, we have the official solicitations for the Spawn Universe toy line's first wave, which, for those of you who aren't keeping up, is Redeemer, Crow, Gunslinger Spawn, Clown, and Violator. And they are all at different price points for the most part. And we also found out finally that Gunslinger Spawn is going to be a Target exclusive. So pour one out, everybody. But
The character is such a rich, deep backstory.
Raven Spawn is going to be $25. So is Redeemer. But then Clown is going to be $40, and Violator is $50 because he is a big, chunky boy. And he also happens to be the only figure from the line I want so far, just because I want to fudge him into my Power Rangers display. I feel like he'd make a great Power Ranger monster.
Oh, yeah. This legit just looks like the 90s toy line comeback, you know?
Yeah. I feel like, because the thing was when Todd needed to be pushed a few years ago into adding articulation to his Fortnite figures, those figures started off like his old 90s figures. And then he was pushed into adding articulation to them because that's what people wanted. And then he started doing the DC figures and the My Hero Academia figures and everything. And he was like, oh, people really like articulation. I could make new Spawn figures with articulation and I could probably sell that like gangbusters. Yeah. Like, I feel like that's the thought process here.
He's also expanding Spawn in the comics, so.
But yeah, these look good. And then another figure for the line that went up shortly thereafter is the Mortal Kombat 11 Melaflick Spawn. At least I think that's how you pronounce that. Which is just an alternate skin for Spawn from the game that makes him look kind of more like a knight.
Yeah, neat.
It looks decent.
I've never been a big Mortal Kombat dude, you know?
Yeah, neither have I. It really doesn't seem like my kind of thing. However, I do want the Target exclusive variant of the first Mortal Kombat 11 Spawn because it comes with a battle axe and like that, there's 3 different versions of that first spawn. There's the regular one that comes with a sword. There's the Target exclusive that comes with a battle axe, and then there's I believe it's an Amazon exclusive that comes with like a big club. But I really want the Target exclusive version specifically because him holding the battle axe reminds me of Spawn here.
But no, if I want to try a fighting game, I'm gonna go for the weird bullshit anime stuff.
Yeah,
I'm going for Guilty Gear. I'm going for Final Fight. I'm going for KOF. Like that's the thing that draws me in. It's Terry Bogard going like, "Are you okay?" while he's punching in your face.
fair. But speaking of weird Japanese bullshit, Kyoto has revealed the next figure in their Reveltech Amazing Yamaguchi line, and it's a second Deadpool. They've done a Deadpool already in this line, but they're going back and doing him again. And I believe this is a slightly different costume, is the thing. Because it's got like some different pouches. There's different holster options. And also they've changed the guns on the first Deadpool, which is from a couple of years ago at this point, granted. They were straight up realistic guns. This Deadpool comes with big sci-fi guns, which a lot of people are theorizing is due to the whole like toy companies not or certain media companies not wanting toys to be made of their characters that come with guns. But I'm like, I thought that was a Warner's thing. And like Legends is still doing regular ass looking guns. So what gives?
Part of me wants to think that this is like the Deadpool from the recent Shonen Jump Deadpool stuff.
It's entirely possible. I haven't read any of that, but I could totally see it.
I read the first couple things of Deadpool Samurai because I remember what the name of it was. It was good.
Yeah. Also, for anybody who looks this thing up and goes like, "Oh, look at those amazing poses you can get with it. It looks so awesome." Recognize that it is meant to go in those amazing poses. If you get this thing and you just want it in like a neutral pose on your shelf and you're going to take it down and pose it every once in a while, that's not why you get this thing. Amazing Yamaguchi figures are made specifically to be in the wildest, wacky poses. So much so that when you put them in a neutral pose, it actually looks wrong. It looks really weird.
Their neutral pose still has to be somewhat dynamic.
Mm-hmm. Like, look at fucking the second picture in this article I sent you. Look at how his pelvis is thrusting.
It is very. You have to pose him like he's on the cover of a comic book.
Exactly. But getting away from Kyoto and swinging back over to Metacom for a second, we had a MCU Mayfex solicitation this week as well, and that is of the Endgame Captain Marvel.
Oh, neat.
Mm-hmm.
The Captain Marvel, where their costume looks like Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
In the comics.
Mm-hmm. Also, like this figure looks about as good as you'd expect it to, except for the faces. I don't feel like they got a really good Brie Larson likeness on this. It looks like a anime's interpretation of Brie Larson's face, if that makes sense.
You know what? I can dig that though. I can dig that as a vibe.
Mm-hmm.
This is definitely Aura Captain Marvel.
Yeah. I feel like there's 2 types of people that are going to want this. There's MCU completionists, and there's people who just want to take that picture with a Spider-Man figure.
Yeah, this is very, and she has the faces for it. The faces are very like aura.
Yeah, there's an angry face, and then there's an alternate kind of calm face that I think can work as the aura face. But yeah, this doesn't seem like something that's going to appeal to a ton of people just because I know there's a lot of people who don't care for MCU Captain Marvel, and there's a lot of people who don't care for her in this movie specific. But that's a hot button issue I'm just gonna touch and I'm gonna walk away from. So have I told you about the Marvel Legends retro line that has been going on for a little bit? Are you aware of that?
Retro cards?
There's the retro collection, and then there's just the plain retro line, and that's what I'm talking about here. And it's Hasbro going back and doing modern versions of superpowers style figures, classic, basic ass sculpt, 5 point articulation figures. And this week we got the official solicitations for wave 3 of that line, which
That
is
is
go ahead.
that's just very classic looking toys.
Mhm. It's Invisible Woman, Cyclops. I forgot his fucking name.
Bullseye?
Yes, Bullseye. Ant-Man, Vision, Black Panther, and Gray Hulk. We are getting all those figures in the third wave. And I have very little to say about this except hey, they did it, because this is one of those lines where it's like, okay, I get it. I understand the appeal. There's definitely some people who are very nostalgic for this style of figure, or just like this style of figure in general, and will scoop this stuff right up. But it's very not for me. And I try not to get mad about that anymore. I try to just be respectfully not for me.
Hey, boomers, you remember Kenner?
Hey, Dan Larson, do you want more shit to put in your photo booth? Here you go. Here's some random shit. I like Dan Larson. He's a nice man. And then finally this week we have a new Marvel Legends MCU reveal. Just in time for this week's episode of Loki. Sylvie is coming to the Marvel Legends line.
It's not the greatest looking figure.
No, it looks very okay, because the lower body is very obviously robbed off of either a Black Series or a G.I. Joe figure. The upper body sculpt is okay. The face sculpt is very clearly based on concept art and not the actual actress. And then that rubber cloak. Oh man.
Yeah.
That looks like some hot garbage, where people are going to immediately open this figure, throw that cloak away, and go order a custom cloth wired one off eBay.
Yeah, it is not great. There was an attempt, though.
Yeah. We also don't have any information about the release of this, except that it's coming in the fall. So I'm thinking there's going to be a second Disney Plus wave. Because we just had the regular Disney Plus wave come out, and now Mobius is supposed to be hitting in a couple weeks as a Target exclusive. I feel like if they're not just saying, hey, she's coming in the next couple weeks as a fucking Walmart exclusive or something, I feel like that means they're saving her back for another wave.
Very possible.
But that is all the toy news that's fit to print for this week.
All right, so why don't we get into some comics? And since you've been leading us through the news, I'll start us off with the comics. With I've read issue 2 of Reptile. It's just it's just a good family friendly comic book adventure. It's the best way to put it. It's good. It is a comic book that that Marvel and DC should always have. A good, fun, family friendly comic.
That's not specifically this was written for little kids.
Yeah, no. Because basically the dudes fighting the bad guy from the last issue in the cliffhanger, they chase him off, they do that whole thing, they get back to the home base, and it's like, oh, the girl had magic, and they're trying to figure out the best way to do this. And his cousins are going like, hey man, you're a superhero, you should be helping out, you should be doing that kind of stuff. And he's going like, dude, I feel weird about it. Camilla's law is a thing, and they go like, bro, fuck Camilla's law. You have great power, do great responsibility. And he's like, guys, I understand, but like, can we not right now? And so they're just trying to figure this whole thing out. They figure out a way to get to the dinosaur dimension, because there's a dinosaur dimension in Marvel. So
there's
they can
there's a dinosaur dimension, and the Savage Lands is a thing?
Yes. The dinosaur dimension's magic based.
Right.
Yes. Because they run into a character known as the Hag, who made the gem that Reptile has that gives him his dinosaur powers, and she's like a proto-man, early hominid witch. Like, hold on. Like, let me give you a good like little screen cap of her. So like she's a monkey lady who has magic.
Whoa.
And so they're trying to figure out, it's like, okay. And she goes like, all right, cool. So you have the gem, and you're probably going to be needing to help Dinosaur World out soon. Things are going awry. The kids get into trouble, and they're attacked by some like dinosaurs, and they go like, "Hey man, we're in a sticky situation. You got to go full dino." And he goes like, "Man, I told you, I don't want to go full dino. I kind of lose myself when I go full dino." And they go like, "It's the only option." He goes full dino, and we end the issue as he's a giant T Rex going roar, and he go like, "Oh no, he lost control." Oh, what's ever gonna happen next issue? Like, it's very classic comic book. It's good shit.
Nice.
Yeah. So, what'd you read?
Well, I only read one thing this week, and
Oh, we're gonna have a lot of me talking then.
granted, it's 6 issues, but I read a whole ass miniseries because I'm sure you remember a while back. I bought the trade edition of Hawkeye and Mockingbird Ghosts, which is a miniseries that came out during the Heroic Age, written by, if I can find the credits page real quick, written by Jim McCann, with art by David Lopez. And it's basically like, hey, Secret Wars and Secret Invasion and Siege just happened, and now Mockingbird is back from the dead because she wasn't dead; she was a Skrull, and she's been kidnapped by the Skrulls this whole time. And so her and Hawkeye are trying to reconnect, but also we're going to retcon a bunch of stuff into her past and try and resolve some bullshit that was done with her recently. And we're going to develop it to the point where they decide to split things off. But then they get back together at the end of the last issue because there's a big cliffhanger that leads into the next miniseries Jim McCann was going to do, which I was not expecting and really pissed me off because I was reading this going like, oh, this is a really nice miniseries. It really stands on its own. It's a great snapshot of this period of Marvel. Nice little thing to dip your toes in. And then it's like,
It marveled it.
yeah. And it didn't even tell me where to go next, or at least the trade didn't. It was just like, to be continued. And I'm like, okay, I didn't think there was another issue. What the fuck? What? And I had to go on Google to figure out that the next thing Jim McCann wrote after this, which is what this is leading into, it's literally just the last like 5 pages of the last issue, was Widowmaker, which is a Hawkeye and Black Widow book.
Oh, it's Hawkeye going through all of his exes.
Yeah, I think that's what he was doing at the time.
You know what? That's not a bad idea for like a couple of miniseries, but you go in with that as the premise.
Yeah. I went into this going like, okay, I don't know much about Hawkeye at this time or in relation to Mockingbird at all. Like, I know they were married at one point, but I don't know, like, I barely know anything about Bob. And I feel kind of bad about that because I like Hawkeye from Jeff Lemire onwards. So, not Jeff Lemire, Matt Fraction. I like Hawkeye from Matt Fraction onwards. I've read pretty much everything Hawkeye since the Matt Fraction run, but I haven't read much before that. So I should probably check this out and get a feel for this side of the character. And I got a good feel for it. I learned a lot about Bobby Morse that I never thought I'd know. But then the book did the Marvel thing, and that kind of pissed me off because I was like, well, I have an hour until I have to record. There's no way I'm gonna go look up this other fucking miniseries and read it tonight, and I'm probably not gonna remember to anytime soon.
Yeah.
But no, there's good stuff in here. I like that because the whole setup here is that after getting reestablished on Earth, Bobby has set up her own secret organization because I believe Shield is kind of sort of dissolved at this point in history. The Avengers are a thing. There's like Avengers Tower and shit because this is during Bendis Avengers. But Shield isn't a thing. So Bobby has set up a like little spy agency based with other people who were Shield agents that were kidnapped by the Skrulls. It's the World Counterterrorism Agency, or WACA.
Waka
They
waka.
Yeah, they literally refer to it as Waka, and nobody ever brings up that joke. And I'm like, was this just a joke the writer had and never felt the need to explain?
Who
Um,
knows?
but it's basically like a CSI type group. And what's funny is there's a weapons dealer that works for them, and is like handling their whole funding operations, because they basically do the whole like, all right, any weapons we get from a bus that we don't have to give back to anyone, we keep what we need and then we sell the rest to keep funding ourselves. Um and they have a guy dealing with all that, and there's like a running joke in the book where he calls Clint a Boy Scout. And literally the first time after it happens, he goes to train with Steve Rogers and he's like, Boy Scout. Somebody called me a Boy Scout. Can you fucking believe that? And Steve Rogers is just like, hurts, doesn't it?
This is what we've been putting you through all these years?
It's great. Um but then there's a whole thing where the I believe it's called like the Phantom Rider or something like that. A longtime Mockingbird villain gets reincarnated, and they have to deal with that. And that villain teams up with Crossfire, who is a longtime Hawkeye villain. And there's a whole thing with that. We also retcon in Bobby's family, who she had Nick Fury tell she was dead, and she'd been like keeping her life a secret. And Clint has this whole thing where like, okay, she's back, but she's been mentally distant ever since she got back from the scrolls, and like there's some shit going down and she's starting to shut herself off more. I need to do something to reach out to her. I know. I'll get her mom and we'll meet up, because she's never talked about her family. So it can be a great thing to kind of like break the ice and bring us back to reality, is introducing the family and whatnot. And there's literally a scene where Clint walks in to a they're supposed to be having a date, and Clint walks in with Bobby's mom, and he's like, so you want to fucking explain this? And she just stands up and goes like, you motherfucker, while her mom's like freaking out, going, oh my god, you're alive. And that's a whole subplot in this book. There's a lot going on, but overall it's solid and it weaves together fairly well. I would recommend it, except maybe skip the last issue, because it's effectively an epilogue and then set up for the next miniseries.
I mean, unless you want to also read the next miniseries, so.
Yeah, there's probably people who want to do that.
I'm trying to figure out the best order of operations to talk about the comics I read.
Yeah, one more thing, if I can uncle this real quick. Something that really struck me during the first couple issues of this, especially with their constant like nicknames and flirtatiousness. I somehow never realized until reading this book that Hawkeye and Mockingbird are literally just Green Arrow and Black Canary, but for the Marvel universe. And I mean, like, that should have been obvious, but it wasn't to me, because because like I said, I didn't know much about Mockingbird until I read this. And it's just hilarious to me, because Green Arrow and Black Canary are like my favorite couple in all of DC.
Yeah. All right. So why don't we go to things that are unrelated except to itself, and then get into the weeds. So first up, we have issue 69. Nice. Of Amazing Spider-Man Chameleon Conspiracy Part 3. In it, Peter Parker is dealing with the villains going after his buddy at the college and his probability machine. He's trying to save his friend. Everything's going crosswire, and he's trying to fight all these bad guys. And then his friend used the device that they were working on to hurt Spider-Man, and he's like, "Oh man." And you look on a dude's face, it's like, oh man, I'm not sure about that. And all the bad guys are going like, ah man, you'll be a good bad guy. You'll be great. All the while, Teresa Parker's still dealing with Chameleon and the other dude, just going like, oh man, what's going on here? Figure it out. Lizard comes out and goes like, oh man, Spider-Man, what happened? And he explains the situation. And then we see Ned Leeds, and he's talking to Betty Brant. He's going like, oh man, I have a feeling Spider-Man's gonna need me. It's just, I know these things. I guess I got to hobgoblin it up. We don't see a suit up, but it's very heavily implied. He's gonna hobgoblin it up and help out some Spider-Man. We then get to see some more of the villains, their whole thing going up in flames, because it turns out the Jack-o'-lanterns, or a mercenary group who are all Jack-o'-lanterns, they kidnap the dude in the probability device, and they go like, oh no, we work for the Finisher. We We were only like trying to placate you for a while so we can get the thing. And then the finisher goes like, "Hey, Teresa Parker, let's discuss the truth about you." Cliffhanger.
Hmm.
This feels like it would be a lot better once we have the beginning and the end of this little story arc.
I
But
bet
right now
so.
it's just kind of a lot of cliffhangers.
Nice.
Issue 2 of Fantastic Four Life Story came out. Again, like the first one, it is pretty cool, but they do like a few things where I go like, okay.
All right.
So a lot of it's interesting. They go through their life, they go through the thing, blah blah blah. Sue and Reed get married. Sue gets pregnant with Franklin. Johnny plays guitar for Yoko Ono and John Lennon.
All right.
And it's 1972. Reed Richards is giving a lecture about space, futurism, and all that kind of stuff. And going like, "Hey, yo, colonialism happened. Powerful people came and killed all the people. We need to be on the lookout, like Galactus." And everybody goes like, "Oh, Reed going on about Galactus again." He's such a respected scientist that they like put up with it. They put up with his Galactus talk. It's just like, okay, cool.
Because this is when people still believe Galactus is a hoax, right?
Yeah, Galactus like is some weird thing Reed believes in. No one knows about Galactus. No one believes it. Nothing. It's just like we put up with it because Reed's just a good scientist, and he's doing a lecture hosted by Tony Stark, who's not Iron Man. There's no hint of Iron Man or anything. It's just Tony Stark.
Cool.
All the while, Reed Richards is putting up with a dude talking about radioactive ants. Mr. Hank Pym, Dr. Hank Pym.
Hey.
And like legit, he's just going like, dude, fucking ants, radioactive ants. Like he's nothing about shrinking, nothing about growing, it's just ants. Like here's the panel. It's just like just ants.
I love how fucking into it he looks.
And then a dude walks up and goes like, "Hey man, Reed, I believe in your Galactus stuff." "Oh man, thanks. Who are you?" "Oh, Doom. Victor Von Doom." And then we see a little adventure with the Mole Man. Uh, and Reed pulls this thing off where it's like, you don't know where the Invisible Girl is. She might be in your container. She might not be. It doesn't look like she is. It turns out Sue's actually at home taking care of Franklin and has been for the past several years. She has not been on a mission since.
Ooh.
She's just been a stay-at-home mom. And as we go through the comic, you realize it's been against her will. She's been pushed into this.
Oh.
You know, it's seemingly loving and all that kind of stuff, but Sue is definitely feeling like, oh, I want to do stuff. I want to be out there. I want to be adventuring just as much as you guys are, but like I got to take care of Franklin, and this sucks. And then we have a cool little segment with Claw, kind of going like, "Hey man," and Ghana going like, "Hey man, we can do all these things and get you out of debt and do all that kind of stuff." Because he's working for the UN, and basically Black Panther shows up and goes like, "All right, here's like a 6x6 inch cube of vibranium. This is to pay off the debts of the entire continent of Africa. That good? Yeah, that's good. All right, cool. Now fucking leave Africa alone, bitch."
Damn.
That's the end of that scene. And then we have Namor crawling up in Florida, going into the library, just researching the modern world, as Captain America is in Vietnam, cracking U.S. soldiers' heads as they're trying to commit war crimes.
Sick.
While Sue is at a feminist
Is that
protest.
just going to be a reoccurring thing for all the life storybooks? Is just Cap losing it over Vietnam?
Yes, that should always be a thing.
Hell yeah.
But Sue's at a feminist protest, and she calls in the Baxter Building and goes like, "Hey, how's everything going?" And Reed just goes like, "I can't, Sue, can you come back home? I can't get any work done with him underfoot. You've got to come back." And Sue just goes like, "Reed, I'm in the middle of something. This is kind of important to me." And Reed just goes, "Something more important than stopping Galactus? More important than everything we've been working for?" And it's just like, God, fucking fuck you. She turns invisible and goes home. It's 1976 as Reed and Doom are basically building a power suit to fight Galactus, to try and
Galactus suit will be ready in 10 minutes.
no, but it's human size. It's human size. It's silver. And then we get to the Fantastic Four are invited to a satellite like launch in Puerto Rico. And who was the dude who was like um Cosmos? Carl Sagan. Carl
Hmm.
Sagan's like showing him off and going like, "Hey, here's this cool plaque we're gonna put on the satellite for alien species." And it's like it's showing off humanity and where Earth is in friendly communication. And Franklin goes like, "Are you?" And Reed basically goes like, "Are you stupid? Galactus is out there." And like he just goes off on him, and Carl Sagan goes like, "Bro, you don't like your fear won't save you, Reed. It never could. Don't be afraid of the unknown." All that kind of jazz. And then we're at Franklin. Then we're at the Franklin, like they're at their house. They're the Baxter Building kind of thing. And Johnny comes up and goes like, Sue goes like, "Oh man, I'm sorry I put you through all this." And Johnny goes like, "Hey, I wanted to go on it because I idolized you. I wouldn't change it for the world." All that kind of stuff. And Johnny goes like, "Oh, so you're not going to the thing?" And Sue goes like, "What thing?" Turns out all the superheroes got invited to the UN to talk on behalf of the superhero community, and Reed Richards declined on behalf of the Fantastic Four without talking to any of them. And Sue's going like, "Reed, why would you do this? This is important." And he goes like, "No, fighting Galactus is important." So Sue shows up and to the meeting with Captain America, Namor, Black Panther. And so they're having like a little meeting to figure out what they're doing. And Namor is like nice. He's a cool, chill dude. Nice to be on the same side. He's like, we fought before, but hey, we're on the same side. We're working together. Haha. And basically, like Namor and Black Panther go like, "Yo, Sue, you should speak. I mean, it's a good idea to have someone who represents 50% of the population. Kind of like that pro-feminist moment of the 70s." And Sue goes to a book signing for The Feminine Mystique, which is a popular feminist book from the 70s, and she gets it signed, and it's signed, "Don't stay invisible forever." They go to the UN, and Sue has a whole big speech plan and all that kind of stuff. She does it and goes like, "Hey, we're gonna fight the monsters. We're not gonna live in shadows." And then Victor Von Doom finishes the suit as he storms into the UN and basically goes like, "Yo, I'm taking over this shit." As Reed pops in and goes like, "Victor, you fucking asshole. This is not how we're gonna solve this." And Reed is just trying to talk no jutsu him down, going like, don't do this. As he realizes Sue Storm has turned invisible, and so he starts playing the same trick he played on Mole Man. And Doom goes like, "Hey man, you can't do that on me. You told me this story." As Sue storms in invisible with Captain America's shield and bashes Doctor Doom.
Queen shit.
Uh, and then it's 1979, and Reed is drinking away his sorrows in a bar as someone asks the Thing, "What's going on?" And the Thing goes, "His wife left him."
Oh shit.
And Reed is depressed and sad, and he has moved into his own apartment as Sue and Franklin are in a car driving away from the city. And Sue's going, "You'll see Dr. Richards on the weekends," and Franklin's just going, "Daddy, we'll see Daddy." As the Thing knocks on his door and goes like, "Hey, I'm moving in with you. We're gonna be roommates, man. Me and you, me and Reed. Even though like we had trouble, I see you're in heartache. I'm gonna help you out." As Sue and Reed, as soon as Franklin climbs up some stairs to a nice little house on the beach, as Sue wraps her arms around Namor the Submariner.
Oh shit, fuck.
As Reed and the Thing are sitting on a couch, eating some goddamn cereal at midnight, watching some TV, as Reed gets a call going like, "Hey, yo, we picked up something big on the satellites and it's heading for Earth."
Well, damn.
So you get what I mean, where it's like, oh, there's a lot of cool Fantastic Four shit in this. And then there's a few things that are like, because it's like, oh yeah, cool, exploring Sue Richards as a feminist icon, and ah, the interplay and all the characters. This is really fun. Wait, Sue divorced Reed? No,
You divorced Reed for Namor?
like,
Like, no disrespect to Namor, but Sue's too good for him.
yeah. This is a different kind of Namor. This Namor doesn't seem like the egotistical asshole of the comics like we've always known, because he's willing to learn about the land dwellers. He's learning to work with them. He seems a nicer Namor. He seems a Namor that Sue could fall for.
By the way, sidebar. I went in to a Walgreens looking for an exclusive Star Wars figure earlier today,
Mhm.
and guess which Marvel Legends they had?
The Fantastic Four Walgreens exclusives?
The Walgreens exclusive Modern Namor
Mm.
from 3 years ago.
Oh.
There was 10 of them.
Ooh.
Yeah. Talk about
Namor's.
egg warming.
But yeah, no, that's the cover for the next issue, the 80s.
Oh boy. But then sidebar before we move on. I don't know if you saw this, but this news article just crossed my feed. There's going to be a new creative team for Spider-Man in a few months.
Yeah, I think that's Marvel's just kind of switching up all the creatives because they're doing it with Venom, they're doing it with Hulk, they're doing it with X-Men because Jonathan Hickman's getting off of the X-Men book and starting a different project within the X-Men wheelhouse.
But Kelly Thompson, Saladin Ahmad, Cody Ziegler, and Patrick Gleason are taking over Amazing Spider-Man at number 75. And Ben Reilly is going to become the main character for a little bit.
Yeah, bring back Ben Reilly.
Yeah, seems interesting.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm trying to figure out some books that I might have recognized from. Okay, she did. She did some things I recognize.
She did the latest West Coast Avengers book. She did a Hawkeye run. She did
She did Deadpool.
Yeah, she did Deadpool. She did a recent Sabrina the Teenage Witch book that I really liked. She's done a lot of stuff back when I was reading Current before I stopped a couple of years ago, pre us doing this podcast. She was writing a lot of books that I was enjoying. I do tend to like Kelly Thompson's stuff a lot.
Yeah. She seems a very, very solid hand for Marvel.
Saladin Ahmad, on the other hand, I've only read one thing he liked, and I don't think it was his fault, but it was very much a case of, yeah, this isn't for me. I'm out after one issue. Because he did the Miss Marvel run post G. Willow Wilson. He wrote that.
So they're doing co-writing duties then.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not the worst. I have a feeling they don't want to shake the boat too hard on Spider-Man right now. But what are you going to do? Nick Spencer's basically been playing cleanup for like his entire run.
Good for him. Somebody had to do it eventually. And his reputation needed the cleanup too. So
I do have the newest issue of Guardians to talk about, Guardians of the Galaxy. The thing is, I kind of need to talk about some X-Men stuff first.
Okay, what the fuck? All right.
What do you mean? What the fuck?
I just don't know anything about what's happening with Guardians right now, because the last time we talked about it was the first issue of that run that tied into Silver Surfer Black.
So we got Wolverine issue 13. It's just a continuation of X-Force where they're trying to deal with all the plant people that Beast created, and it's like everybody's freaking out about Beast, and like they're going like, Beast, why'd you fucking do this? And he's going like, I was trying to protect the world, and they're going like, Beast, you're an asshole. And eventually they're able to talk to plant people down and go like, hey, we're sorry for brain controlling you. Can we just not like give you a bunch of resources and just never talk about this again? And they're like, okay, fine, whatever. Deadpool comes back to life and helps him out. That's cool. He gets to hang out at the after party, so he gets to hang out with the X family some. And Emma Frost basically goes like, yo, this wasn't cool, Beast. Don't ever fucking do this kind of shit again. And Beast goes like, I make no promises. Basically going like, if it saves us from annihilation, I will do it. Which is fair, but like, come on. And then we get the big reveal in this is the Marauder was transporting some of those Shi'ar goods that the ambassador gave. And now the Marauder is burning, and the goods are nowhere to be seen. So, oh no, what's happening there? And then we have Way of X issue 3. This is the first comic to basically take place after the Hellfire Gala. Okay? And we open it up with Nightcrawler getting shit-faced because he was just told, hey, by the way, Onslaught is around, and we need to deal with him. And he's stressed about trying to help save mutant society culturally and spiritually. And basically, we just get several panels of all the time he's been drunk in all the other books in the background, and with all the characters trying to deal with him, and they're all freaking out because like, Jesus, Kurt, why are you so drunk? And there's also a cool panel with North Star's husband going like, "Hey man, make more mutants is kind of heteronormative and it's kind of like exclusionary to gay mutants, and it feels kind of bad. But there's like, you should figure it out. I mean, it's all very well for the likes of Megan and Brian. Have you? But for us, like, there's like he's just going on like, hey man, that thing you said about fucking." It's kind of makes it awkward for us gay people because we're not gonna make a baby, and you're just dealing it. And then we open it up with Nightcrawler fucking hung the fuck over, just going like, oh fuck. Hey Nemesis, Doctor Dude, do you have anything for a hangover? And he just goes like, yeah, I just have this super genetic coffee. And what's the question?
I had an idea, and I feel like this is something Bendis would think of too. Or not Bendis, fucking Hickman. I feel like this is something Hickman would have already thought of and either is planning to introduce it or is dismissed it as too weird even for me. A way for gay mutants to reproduce involving the resurrection team, where you mix together a resurrection of the both of them, and that's a new person.
See, here's the thing. I don't think we should be heading that direction because the rest of this book will head in a different direction.
Okay.
And basically, Dr. Nemesis goes like, I have the super coffee, and Kurt just goes like, fucking give it to me. He has a giant ass headache. And fucking Legion comes in and goes like, hey, nobody's quite sure what's going on with what you're doing. So you kind of freak some people out, but they're kind of ignoring it for now and just partying. And Kurt goes like, all right, cool. We need to figure out these laws and how to make them sacred and all that kind of stuff. As Legion's called away to help out two mutants, Loa and Mercury. As they were trying to get busy, have some sex. Loa's mutant power negatively affected Mercury's mutant power, and it kind of turned out bad. And so they're going like, hey, Legion, you have like one of your powers is like you can put people into like a mindscape where they can kind of have like a version of mental sex. Do you think you could help them out, like figure a way to help them out to be intimate? And like, and that's when we in that scene as Nightcrawler's poofing around Krakoa trying to deal with stuff, as we run into a woman named Stacy X who basically has Star Fox powers. She has get horny powers. Okay. And so Nightcrawler's going like, hey, I'm just trying to, what are you doing? Why are you giving out contraceptives? And she's going like, yo, we just had the biggest party of mutant kind ever threw. A couple hundred superpowered youngsters. You better believe I was handing out contraceptives. And he's going like, yeah, but what about the first law? Make more mutants. And she's like, oh my God, can you be less Catholic for once? Get it? The Catholic joke, they don't like condoms.
Yeah.
And she calls him a sex sheriff. And they go into this little alcove where a bunch of people are in a bunch of flower pods, just kind of being intimate.
Just fucking.
No, that's what Nightcrawler says. Oh, you're using your powers of seduction to make them all fuck. And she's going like, no, I use my powers to get them loose, to get them comfortable with themselves. Most of them just fucking cuddle. They just go in there and talk about it, just talk to each other. They just want to be intimate on an emotional level. Some talk, but some
they live the dream. They live the I don't want to be horny anymore. I just want to be happy meme dream.
Yeah, and she goes like, yeah, some of them do fuck like bunnies, but like, you know, that's healthy too. And they leave happier. You know, they leave with some weight off their shoulders. And Nightcrawler, with the fucking shit take of the issue, goes like, you've built a brothel in the Garden of Eden. And before he can finish that sentence, he slaps the fuck out of him, goes like...
Because brothels are the shit, and they need to be legalized and regularized.
But here's the thing, this isn't even a brothel. It's just a communal space of horniness.
Boingo?
Yes?
That's a brothel.
No, a brothel is a place of business.
The only difference is... at a brothel, you pay.
Yeah, This is a brothel co-op. No, because nobody's paying. They're just hanging out.
All right.
Dude, that's what they're doing. Because it's not people there going like, oh man, talk to me. No, it's couples going there to talk. They just want a place to do it. This is a love hotel.
I was just about to say that too. It's a fucking Love Hotel co-op. Oh my god.
Yeah. So it's different. And she goes like, yo, you can be some tiny-minded shit, you know? Fuck that. And he's like, yo, I'm sorry. I'm trying to figure out this whole thing. They need support. I'm trying to figure this whole thing out. It's kind of crazy. As Legion helps out the couple of girls, and he goes like, "Yeah, no, I'll help out." And they're going like, "Really? You'll help us out?" And he goes like, "Yeah, nah, this ain't nothing. It'll be small potatoes. I'm glad to help. You know, I want to be part of the community." So he does, and they're having the mental sex. But this is also like a weird thing about this mental sex is it is very much about losing all barriers and guards for your secrets. So one of them is going like, "Oh man, I feel like I could be with you forever. I love you. 3 kids and a white picket fence." Like that kind of like oversharing, love at first sight, first date kind of vibes. Like, "Oh no, you're a little creepy." While the other one's going like, "Oh man, I just want to stab people. I just want to stab people."
That's great.
No, like legit. This is what the Mercury says because I'm pretty sure it's Mercury saying it. When I was 4, I used a magnifying glass to burn a little frog. I knew I should feel guilty, but I actually kind of enjoy. After Mom called me a freak, I spent hours fantasizing about turning into a liquid and just filling her mouth and nostrils and lungs. Like she
Jesus.
is little psycho. All the while, what Legion was doing was using this psychic intimacy to lure out Onslaught so he can get a beat on him. This was just all a trap. And once Onslaught recognizes it and leaves, Mercury and Loa are like going like, "Get the fuck off me." They run like, "You are sick and twisted on the inside." And Mercury's going like, "Don't touch me." And they just run away from each other, irrevocably heartbroken.
Damn.
Legion just broke up this possible lesbian couple in the middle of Pride Month, y'all.
Wow.
And all he can say is, that could have gone better.
Legion, you fucker.
I love this guy. He's great. But basically, okay, cool. We're getting this all figured out. While Stacy X basically shows Nightcrawler the ultimate results of his first law of Krakoa, as we just see a giant nursery full of mutant babies. And Stacy basically goes, "Yeah, no, some of them get left here. Some of them just get left in the forest. People are having babies and just leaving them. They aren't taking care of them. Some of them are. Some of them are going the full traditional family.
Is this real or is this a fucking vision?
No, this is real. These are actual, genuine babies.
So there's a shit ton of babies that have been born.
Yes.
Holy crap.
Born and abandoned.
Holy crap. This is like great setup for 5 different X books.
You know? And basically, Stacy's going like, "Yo, you told people with hot superbots to just get busy, to just fuck. You did not tell them to be responsible with the results of it. So, like, realistically, we also haven't even set up an adoption service yet in Krakoa. We haven't thought of that yet. So we don't have any way to get these babies parents that'll take care of them. No one's taking care of them. They're just abandoned. And I'm
y'all
like,
about to have a bunch of Wolverines on your hand.
You know, and she basically goes like, "This isn't what you had in mind, but this is the cause of uncaring. Like, this is the result of not thinking things through." Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, she points out if the first law is make more mutants, the 5 got that on lock because they're bringing back mutants. They are making more mutants. We don't need more babies. And she basically goes, what we need is folks to give a damn about others. As we see the long woman from the first issue of Way of X taking care of the babies. Because the babies don't have inner ears developed enough to be affected by her gravity. So she can take care of all the babies. And she loves doing it. So, like, they're not abandoned. Like, people are taking care of them. It's just not parents. It's just not, like... It's just they're still
They're
abandoned.
either never gonna know or they're gonna have terrible relationships with their maternal parents.
if they ever even know who they are. Because remember, mutant powers can kind of be a little randomized. You can never know who's who. And basically, Nightcrawler's reeling from this, fucking figuring this whole thing out. You know, just trying to figure this whole thing out, recognizing all of this. As we hear some commotion, as freaking Fabian Cortez gets kicked out of one of the fuck pods as a woman screams, "I told you before, leave me alone, you freaking weirdo. I don't like your creepy poems, and I won't wear that stupid haircut. Get a stupid helmet, get a haircut." As she kicks Fabian out of the pod with a Magneto helmet. He is going off the deep end, buddy.
Who's Fabian Cortez again?
He was an acolyte of Magneto in the 90s, kind of a dickhead, and he was the one in Sword, like a previous issue of Sword, who goes like, "Hey man, what if we just killed humans? I mean, we're better than them. Let's just kill them." And Magneto brought him in front of the council just so he can shit on him and go like, "Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, no, fuck you." You know, that whole thing. And basically the long woman goes like, "Oh, it's the fucking acolytes." While Onslaught is behind her going like, "You know what you should do? You should fucking kill him." As she starts crushing him in gravity and he starts trying to strangle her. And like basically Stacy's going like, "Nightcrawler, you need to teleport all the fucking babies out of here because gravity's going weird and everything's collapsing." While Pixie, the Zorn brothers, and Legion all come in going like, "Hey, we're here to save the day." And they do.
That's a fucking team up.
Like legit, the Zorn brothers are like backups for the Way of X team, and it's great because they're just floating in the background all the time, cross-legged, going like, "Yo, we're fucking powerful. Yeah, we are." And so basically, like, they're trying to figure out what to do, but Nightcrawler goes like, "You know what I need? I just need a fucking gin and tonic because I've been through shit and I don't want to think right now."
Nightcrawler's fucking arc in Hickman X-Men is just slowly turning into an alcoholic and losing his religion. Nightcrawler is the Daredevil of the X-Men.
Yes. And basically, they're at the Blue Lagoon, and Nightcrawler's sipping on the gin and tonic. As Stacey X is basically kind of going like, "Oh man, yo, people, Dazzler keeps us hard to keep us entertained," and Nemesis has the whole time been going like, "Fuck Dazzler, her music's derivative, I don't like it. Fuck Dazzler." And Stacey basically goes like, "You know what? For tonight, you're gonna enjoy Dazzler's music. You're gonna enjoy the music. You're gonna have some fun using her powers of seduction." While Nightcrawler and Legion are just going like, "We have not thought this stuff through. We have bungled a lot of this. We need to figure things out." As Stacey X is going like, "Yo, we need to be open. We need to be caring. We need to break down barriers and connect with each other in an emotional level." And Pixie's going like, "Yeah, but we need secrets. We can't leave everything out the barrels. We're raw." And that's basically the dichotomy right now. That's the thing they're setting up is like, okay, what Krakoa needs is emotional maturity, and they don't have that yet. Well, Nemesis is walking up to Dazzler and going, and basically other music is playing, and Dazzler's going like, "I don't want to fucking deal with you right now." And Nemesis goes like, "You know what? I want to apologize. Would you care for a dance?" And at the final panel of this whole issue, it's Dazzler and Nemesis, who have been at each other's throats the first two issues, having a nice little dance while everyone realizes, yeah, that's what we need. Just need to apologize. We need to be bigger people, apologize, and help each other.
Let's get together and be alright. I think that's how that sounds.
Yeah, no, legit. It's basically that. So it's a really cool issue for Way of X. It's really good, really sets up some interesting things, give us some really cool direction for what they're going to try and do. It's good. It's solid. It's nice work. I'm sending you the last page that had all the panels on it that I was just mentioning. It's really kind of sweet because it seems genuine. It seems like he realized, you know what, I was kind of being an asshole. Let me be nice. It was cool.
Look for Dazzler. I dig it.
Yeah, it still looks like classic Dazzler though. It's nice.
It looks like her Pride of the X-Men outfit, but as a dress.
Yeah. So next we have Sword issue 6 as Steve Rogers is looking out onto the oceans of Mars. And he's just going like, "Oh,
as you do."
Yeah, because this is after Planet Size X-Man. as a bunch of different heroes are walking out of the party, going like, okay, Jesus fucking Christ, the X-Men are doing some shit. I don't know how to react. Thing is just going like, I can't believe they just did that. While the dude who's been in control of Gamma Flight, who's been hunting down the Hulk in the past few issues of Immortal Hulk, is talking to Guardian, the leader of Alpha Flight, Canada Alpha Flight, not Space Alpha Flight, going like, yo, dude, they just did...
Space Alpha Flight?
Yeah, it was ran by Carol Danvers. It was when they didn't want to use Sword because it was wrapped up in Fox.
That was 2 different teams?
Technically.
Fucking hell, okay.
So basically, he's going like the Guardian, going like, "Hey, yo, they did all this in a fashion event. You know, we need to protect people. Like the X-Men are representing a rogue nation. We don't know how far they'll go." While Doom is basically going like, "Hey, Cap, have you heard of a thing called Orcus?" No, it was Greenwich talking to Guardian, talking about Orcus, which is the new anti-mutant organization that's trying to make Nimrod.
Yeah.
Well, Doom shows up and goes like, "Hey, Captain, what are your thoughts?" And he's going like, "Well, it's a big thing. I'm a little shocked. You probably think that's weak." And Doom goes like, "No, I have more respect for you than that. I mean, we're both the face of our nation." And Captain goes like, "Right." And Captain basically goes on about how like first week out of the ice, he felt like it was a dark time, and then when he found out that people landed on the moon, he felt like, oh, sweet, humanity actually did something. We progressed. And then he asked Tony, when did we reach Mars? And Tony just gave him a sad little smile and just changed the subject. And he didn't realize till later that we never touched Mars. And then he goes like, and here we are at the sideline. And then basically goes like, are you afraid? And Cap goes like, no, I'm not afraid. Because it's not who I am. I'm not afraid of the future. I'm not afraid of what it will be. I believe in a better tomorrow. I just hoped we all would look for it together. Basically, Charles Xavier's dream: humanity and mutants working together for the greater good. But it's like he's realizing that mutants are done and tired of trying to fight for that because humanity is. And basically, Doom goes like, perhaps we will do it together. There will come a time soon, I believe, when you find yourself needing my help. And when that day arrives, you have my word. I won't make a gala performance out of it. Because Doom, again, remind you, is very butthurt about this whole thing. Because it's like, fuck you, you're not better than Doom. I'm Doom.
No one rivals Doom.
While we are now on the peak, we're on Mars, where Abigail Brand, in a dope-ass pirate suit, hold on, boop, 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 boop. Abigail Brand, she is the leader of Sword. She has green hair. Is basically talking to a council of intergalactic states, basically going like, hey, look, we terraformed Mars. We did this whole thing. And like, they're going like, yeah, this isn't any big potatoes. We do this kind of shit all the time. We terraform planets. We're intergalactic empires. That's what we do. We're busy. Why are you bringing this out here for this? And basically, they realize, oh, you brought us out here for this because it takes us normally a year to terraform a planet, and it took you 10 minutes. That is a service that we could use, you know? And they're going like, okay, cool, fine, but like, that's not something to bring us out here for. And the galactic Wakanda representatives going like, yeah, and Krakoa is only like a fraction of Earth. You don't represent all of Earth because Wakanda's here. And Wakanda has achieved a lot of this stuff. And it just feels like unimpressive. Like, okay, cool. You kind of caught up to us. You're not even there yet. You know? And Nova is basically going like, did you consult anybody about this? Did you talk to anybody? You just decided to do this. You know? And they're going like, yeah, but you're supposed to represent Earth. We couldn't contact you. You haven't been here. And he goes like, I've been saving people on other planets. And they go like, yeah, your plate's full, so we just made an executive decision. So fuck you. And they basically go like, all right, this isn't the only reason we're here. Because we have this new material that is basically lighter than anything you have, more durable than anything you have, easier to make and deal with than adamantium. And the only people who can make it are Earth-based mutants. So you're going to want to deal with us to get this dope-ass metal, and basically we want to be part of the...
You guys already do this trick with the drugs on Earth? And hasn't that not been going so well lately?
Here's the thing, though. all of them are on fucking board except Wakanda because it's Wakanda, and they're going like, "Oh shit! Remember,
There's no way that's better than vibranium. Come on.
no. Here's the biggest thing: the galactic everything because of Empire. Remember the event Empire? Hickman
Kinda.
does because all of the galaxies are in an economic depression."
Oh.
And this new material shows great value for industry and possibility there. And they're also presenting it as a possible new intergalactic currency called Soul.
Bruh.
And basically, Nova recognizes what this is. This is a bribe to get on everybody's good side so that they'll want to buy this material from you in the future. And basically, he goes like, "What does this pay for? What do you want out of this?" And Abigail goes like, "I'm glad you asked. Krakoa has made a similar deal with Earth when this all started. So you were right in recognizing the connection. It's meant to be a parallel. We give you what we want. We give you what you want, what you need, and you can't do it alone. And what we ask in return is acknowledgement. Basically, acknowledging that Krakoa is the leaders of Earth. That Krakoa is control of the Soul System.
Bruh.
With planet Mars, now known as planet Araco, being its capital. And they go, and basically, they go like, "Any questions?" And you just see it off panel, "Just one." And Doom walks in going, "Why should I fucking care?"
Oh my god.
And then Peter Quill, representing the Spartax, goes like, "Doom, what are you doing here?" And Doom says the best line. "The question, Peter, is why was I not invited? But we'll table that for now." And basically, Doom's going like, "Okay, cool. So you're trying to be the political power in space. You're trying to represent that. Fine. But Earth isn't one nation. Earth isn't one thing. We're individual. You don't speak for Latveria. So I ask you this. Who speaks for this planet? This planet is supposed to have one voice. Who speaks for Mars? Who does it?" And so Abigail goes like, "All right, cool. We can make that happen. We can get you a quick little meeting with them." Interesting that that's the most important facet. And Doom's going like, "Of course, I need to know who's in control. I need to see who has the power. Who rules your new planet? Tell me his name. Who is the king of Mars? Who would speak for Soul?" Basically, who do you think is important enough to talk for Doom, you fucker? And then you see a dainty hand with bangles. "Victor, you know my name. You've all heard it whispered. It is Windrider. It is she who swam with Asanti. It is Hajar Yao. I am Storm, region of Mars. I am the voice of Soul."
Awesome.
Everybody's freaking out because it's an Omega level mutant going, "Yo, bitch, I control Mars."
Bruh. I can't bra hard enough for that.
You don't even see the aftermath of that. It just cuts to an information page going, "Confidential. Who has accepted the deal?"
Because of course it has.
Okay. Spartax has accepted. The reason? Economic necessity. Recovery, because they're in economic depression. The Galactic Rim Collective. Economic necessity. Recovery. Great Camellia, which was the horse people that gave Power Pack their fucking yeah. Intergalactic Empire of Wakanda. Rejected. They do not need mutant metal. Like, goddamn, look at that page.
That is queen shit.
And she is queen shit.
That is supreme queen shit. What's the difference between regular queen shit and supreme queen shit? Sour cream.
And then we have the Regal, technological necessity, expansion, the Shi'ar Empire, political, Krakoan ally, the Utopian Kree, which is the place, the group of Kid Marvel, Novell, I can't remember his name, but that dude,
Sure.
Created by Grant Morrison.
Sure.
Yeah. And then the Zenrix Empire, which is Snark War, those guys, accepted political Krakoan ally. And it's basically going like, all right, cool. We're basically accepted and recognized by everybody except Wakanda. I wonder if that's going to lead to anything, considering Storm, the woman who stole your sacred sword, is now regent of Mars and is also the ex-wife of your king. Holy shit. So why don't we step into Guardians? Because the Guardians kind of ties into this. While
Could be appropriate, yeah.
so a couple teams of Guardians are surrounding uh the planet formerly known as Ego. It has a black thing about it. They're not sure what's going on, and they're just talking and everything, and they're talking about what's going on in Seoul. They're talking politics. They're going like, okay, what's happened? What's going on in the X-Men, guys? As Rocket's trying to explain what the Rimworld Collective is, and Hercules goes like, oh, it's like the European Union, and Rocket goes like, no, why do Earthers always have to describe things like Earthers? Why does everything have to be like something on Earth? Not everything something like on Earth. And he's very Rocket dialogue. It's great as they're just trying to deal with things. And they're going like, yeah, Moondragon's helping out Iron Man, and they're just dealing with everything. Well, Nova and Peter are on a ship going to Mars to deal with things in Sword, while also discussing what happened in the last issue where they turned Doom into a member of the Guardians of the Galaxy. And they're going like, was this a good idea? And it's like, I made a decision the best I could. They show up at Sword, and they're walking in, they're doing the political thing, they're talking to Abigail Brand, and then Nova sees Magneto. Now remember, Nova only comes to Earth every once in a while. He's in space most of the time, so he's missed tons of character development for a bunch of characters. So Nova sees Magneto. Magneto reaches out his hand in good faith. It's like, hey, what's up? And Nova just looks at him, glares. I am done shaking hands with supervillain. You are going down, Magneto. And he basically fists up and goes like, all right, we about to fight. And they talking back and forth, they bitch at each other, and then Magneto just grabs a couple spaceships and goes like, all right, cool, if you want to fight, I'll fight, bitch. And they start throwing down, and Nova's slicing shit, fight scene between the two of them, and Magneto is just going like, all right, bitch. Nova slices the ship, all right, cool. I can put the shit back together, just crunches it and throws it at just crunches together as like around Nova. And Nova just punches out Magneto, punches his helmet off. And like Abigail goes like, all right, you guys have had enough. You got your hit in, leave it, stop. And then Nova basically goes like, all right, fine, I'm an ass. Don't start. And Magneto goes like, okay, cool. Yeah, no, I admit it's reasonable. I don't blame you for having that reaction. And they basically talk about like the status quo of Guardians, where it's basically Avengers in space, a like that kind of thing, and that whole, and they just have a cool conversation, you know. They're just kind of trying to hash out what's going to happen in the issue of Sword we just talked about. As the black casing around Ego starts to disappear, as we hear, as like they're going like, oh no, Ego's hatching, and we hear a voice, no. Ego is gone, his puny shell is mine, a living furnace to house my terrible flame. I am the great enigma, eater of souls. I am keeper of the mindless armies. I am dread lord of secret fire, and my name is Dormammu. As a giant head of Dormammu is now the planet Ego.
Sick.
Yeah, and we're leading up to a new big event, the Last Annihilation.
Isn't Doctor Strange supposed to die soon?
I think so.
Yeah. Seems like he should be involved with this Dormammu shit.
But we have one last little thing to talk about in Sword, as Magneto is on Mars in a little ballroom with some music playing. He's drinking some whiskey. He's relaxing. And he's going like, here's to you. Here's to all the things we've done. And then we hear a gate open. And then Wanda walks out and goes like, I got your invitation. And Magneto basically was like, Wanda, I didn't think you'd make it. So I wanted you to see the fireworks. And Wanda goes like, I tried, but I couldn't face them. Not after everything I did, everything I said. The pretender can't sit at the feast. And Magneto looks heartbroken. And he just goes like, did I ever tell you about Anya? And she goes like, no, I don't think you ever did. And he goes like, yeah, no, the iron door rarely opened. She had eyes like you. Her hair like autumn leaves, beautiful child. The humans killed her, of course. I didn't even know I was a mutant. We were humans at the mercy of humans, prey for their systems, their societies, and now I find myself the great mutant hero. I run our systems, govern our society. I helped build a world today, and I was happy for the children. But then I thought of my children, how I failed them, all of them. Magnus, I'm not really I know. But sometimes what real is not the same as what's true. And sometimes it takes two to pretend. You are my daughter, Wanda. You will always be my daughter. And I will do what I must to make things right.
That warms the dark and tired cockles of my heart.
As they give a small, slow dance as father and daughter alone on Mars. God damn. Even if they don't fix that this is going to the way of fixing the retcon, especially considering the next major little subplot is the trial of Magneto. God damn, it's heartwarming. It's nice. So yeah, that was the comics I read this week.
Sick. Great place to leave it off.
Yeah, that's why I didn't want to do Guardians. It made more sense to do Guardians in the middle of Sword. But other than that, do you have anything else you want to say?
No.
All right. So why don't you tell the people where they can find you?
Hey, everybody. I'm the Vacuuminator. I do toy reviews. You can find him at Vacuuminator on YouTube. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. I'm very tired. It's pretty late. I'm starting to hit my wall, honestly.
Alrighty. Hey, I'm Chris Boingo Writer Gaston. I do video essay and editorial stuff on YouTube. You can find me. Just look for Boingo Writer. I'm on Instagram and Twitter at Boingo_Writer. You can follow me there. Get updates whenever I make them. And if you're listening to this podcast on a podcasting platform, hey, give us a follow and tell your friends. It's the best way to help us out. And if you're listening to this on YouTube, hey, give us a like, give us a comment, and subscribe to the channel so you can get this podcast and many others, including, but not limited to, Twit or This Week in Toku, or Vec and Buster of Miriam Buster Core.
Yeah, that's that person.
They talk about tokusatsu, news, and stories that are happening week by week. Or you can listen to Modular Component, where anybody who's part of the Modular grouping can come in and talk about the shit of the week or just a topic they want to talk about, just whatever. It's a very freeform podcast. We try to be fun. We try to tell jokes and make each other laugh there. And there's also MMWP, or Modular Media Wrestling Podcast, where me and back here talk about wrestling in the week, news, and the wrestling we like to watch, which is AEW.
Dude,
but
God, AEW is on at 8 tomorrow.
But this has been Modular Media Snow Prize Podcast. We hope you enjoy the show. Do you have any final words, V-Man?
Help, I have too many waifus and they would all